we need to talk. Hey friend, welcome back to the channel, and after this super dramatic intro, I can assure you that I'm doing fine, everything's okay, but I want to share something really interesting with you that I've been thinking about quite a lot recently. I get asked very often what it's like to be a professional mixing and mastering engineer in this field of electronic music, and so in this video I want to give you an honest look behind the scenes. For many upcoming producers, this sounds like the dream. You have your own studio, you work with artists and labels from all over the world, you're doing this every single day. And so I want to share with you the honest look behind the scenes and not just highlighting the dream aspects, but also talk about some of the things that are probably not ideal, that I only figured out after doing this for quite a while. So if that's interesting to you, make sure to stick around, because especially at the end, I'm going to reveal some new things that I'm working on that might be interesting to you. If you are new to this channel, my name is Philip from Pick Yourself, and I produce, mix and master music, especially electronic music, professionally since many years. I do this full-time in my studio in Berlin. And so the reason I started this channel is to help you find your way in the music industry, build a meaningful life based on your passion for electronic music or music production in general. So if that resonates with you in any way, make sure to subscribe, stick around, because I'm going to share a lot of the lessons, the failures, the successes that I've had over the years in order to help you. Alright, let's now get into my honest look behind the scenes of being a professional mixing and mastering engineer in this field of electronic music. First of all, I sadly find myself fighting against bad sound design and bad sample selection all the freaking time. So imagine this for a moment. Put yourself into my perspective. You're sitting in front of awesome speakers in a treated room, you have great headphones, the gear is like not the problem at all. You have years of experience, you get the files sent by your client, you're eager to jump into the project. Then you open the tracks and you notice that something is majorly off. The sound design is whack, the sample selection just doesn't make sense. And even if the track has a lot of potential in terms of composition and arrangement and is very creative, the pieces just don't fit together the way they are supposed to. Now, one could assume that this can be fixed in the mixing and mastering stage, but that's actually not true, and let me share with you why. Mixing and mastering is just the icing on the cake. It can enhance what's already there, it can make it, 20-30% better, but if the substance and the essence of the music is off, there's just no way mixing and mastering can solve this. Now, I would probably make more money if I just told you, well, you definitely need my services to make your music better, because then I will fix all your problems and you will walk away with a professional production. But my goal with this overall channel is just to be super honest and straightforward with you. If the substance and essence of the music is off, nothing will fix it. And so after a few years of seeing these types of projects come in every single day and noticing that only 10% of projects are actually living up to the potential of what the music could be, it started to become a little bit frustrating. And so I started to coach my clients on the way to the actual mixing and mastering project, which was very interesting because suddenly the results became much, much better. I do this to this day, so still when someone signs up for a project, works with me first time, I actually listen to the music beforehand, we talk about it on a personal call, and I try to help in the earlier stages to make sure that the input before it even hits the studio is excellent, so I can do the best job possible to then take it to the next level. But at a certain point, I obviously noticed that I can only help so many people at the same time. So I focused on personally helping the people who are either having mixing and mastering projects with me or sign up to my coaching program. But I still want to help the rest of you who are out there struggling to, for example, finish music. And this is exactly why I started to create free resources that just replicate myself. Many versions of Philip floating around in the internet. So the current one that I highly recommend you check out is called the Finisher Framework. It's my 3 simple steps to helping you get into a healthy release rhythm. Finish at least one great sounding song per month. And you can get it at pickyourself.com/framework. The link is in the description. Make sure to get this. I think it's fantastic on the way to an actual mixing and mastering project later on. But maybe you also want to do it yourself and learn it yourself. That's completely fine as well. Now let's come to the second point that I think is a big downside of being a mixing and mastering engineer and doing this full time. So I've noticed that a lot of these free resources out there are tricky, especially if artists are less experienced. The big problem here is this information overload combined with conflicting advice. So you have YouTube tutorial here, cheat sheet there, free guide and whatnot course. And so the issue is that we just, at the beginning of our production career, we obviously follow this advice blindly. We find someone who looks trustworthy on YouTube and we just implement what they say. To give you an example of that is, I get a lot of projects where people just blindly followed this advice of you have to high pass and low pass all your tracks to make sure they sit well in the frequencies. I have no idea what the actual argument is there. It just does not make sense in any way. The way these productions then sound when they arrive in my studio and I listen to them on a good system or on a good pair of headphones, I listen to this and it almost sounds like someone has pulled a curtain in front of the music, in front of my speakers. So I listen to the music and it sounds like it's being covered by a curtain. Very strange experience. Now, if you're not as established as a producer, you obviously follow this advice, but there's no way to double check whether this makes sense or not. Like, how should you know? And all your peers probably are in the same phase, so they also have no clue. Now, the funny bit here is that I get these productions and it's almost like looking into the matrix. I can see what types of clients watch what types of YouTube videos and can sometimes tell a person, hey, I'm sure you watched this video, right? And they were like, okay, that's weird. How do you know? Yeah, it's because it's that same error that I see happening all the time with all of my other clients, and everyone seems to watch that video and just believe it blindly. But there are also issues with being a mixing and mastering engineer that go beyond this. And the thing that I realized at some point is that it is a creative job in a way, but it doesn't fulfill all my creative needs because I'm a very, very creative person. Like when I do these personality tests and whatnot, the first thing that comes up is the creativity. The next thing is strategic thinking, which is a very rare combination, by the way. But this is who I am. This is so important to me. And I thought when I was starting out, building the studio, getting clients and so on, that this would be the thing that satisfies me for the rest of my life. But that's not true. It just doesn't fulfill all my creative needs. And so if you currently consider this, take a step back and remind yourself, like, okay, where on this creativity scale am I sitting right now? And to give you an example, the creative aspects are actually trying to get the best out of the music, and my philosophy is always to enhance the beauty in the tracks, and so I can use a lot of my creativity in mixing to actually understand what's going on musically and pull out the best bits. I personally don't have to think about the technical stuff anymore. It's just stored in the back of my head and is ticked off. But it's still, on the other hand, quite repetitive. So I pull up a new session, I listen to the track, and without a couple of seconds, I exactly know what to do in what order, and it's a no-brainer. So of course this becomes a little bit repetitive over time. And yes, you still get better, you still try new tools, new techniques, but still, like, the space becomes more and more limited the longer you do this. So how did I react to this? What did I do with this new revelation that it's just not fulfilling me creatively 100%? Well, I started to produce much more music again, especially for 3D sound installations, ambisonics projects, which means you create a sound that can come from multi-speaker installations and has like this immersive feeling. It's something that really triggers me creatively, something that I find super exciting. I got into that field. I also started to work with a modular system. Now, obviously, this is going to trigger you in your gear addiction syndrome for sure. But this is stuff where I just, without any goal in mind, I sit at home after bringing my daughter to bed, sitting at home with my modular system, playing around and enjoying this feeling of diving deep into the music again and just expressing it creatively. And also, this is quite funny, even this YouTube thing triggers my creativity in a very positive way. I can come up with ideas, I can share things, I can teach, and all of this fulfills me in a slightly different way and complements the mixing and mastering quite nicely. But the hardest realization that I had for myself is that mixing and mastering means I deliver a product and not a transformation. Let that sink in. It's a product, but not a transformation. The product is the finished song that sounds great. Now, obviously, this can somehow transform the artist's trajectory. If the music is great and the mixing and mastering on top of it is also great, of course, this can catapult the artist into a different league in terms of the music industry. So yeah, there is some transformation maybe happening, but it's nothing compared to what I can do when I actually teach, coach, mentor people, which is why I started creating, for example, my online course, which is why I started setting up my coaching program, because all of this stuff I can see that there's a huge transformation happening with people. Like they literally walk out of this being a different person. And in a strange way, this satisfies me much more compared to just delivering the product. Now, if this coaching thing sounds interesting to you and you want to find out more what that program looks like, you can go to pickyourself.com/coaching. The link is in the description. And if you feel that this resonates with you, you can book a one-on-one call with me. It's completely free, and we will talk about this in person and just figure out whether this is something that you want to dive into. Now, after all these downsides of being a professional mixing and mastering engineer, let me assure you that I still love this job. It's fantastic. I can work with music every single time, and the thing that I especially enjoy is getting to know all these different people with different backgrounds from all over the world, and also diving into different subgenres of electronic music. This helps me just stay on track of what the music industry is doing. I'm really at the pulse of what's fresh, what's new, what's hot. That's a lot of fun, and I still enjoy this creative challenge of diving into these genres and helping them evolve. The realization that I personally came to is the following. I have very diverse creative needs, and I need to find ways to fulfill them. It's almost like my life comes full circle now. I always enjoyed being this nerdy guy in his cave, mixing and mastering, producing music and so on. But I also had this urge to teach, for example, for all of my life. I had this urge to be on stage, or in this case, in front of the camera, which is quite similar. And all of this now comes together into a really nice package, and which is why I really enjoy this phase of my life currently. Now, in all transparency, none of this is easy. I'm in this phase called the rush hour of life. And yes, I'm starting a family, run 2 businesses, build a team within these businesses, and my goal is not to work 80 to 100 hours a week, but actually work less than 30 hours in the best case scenario, spend a lot of time with my family and friends, and enjoy my life in diverse aspects. And yes, that is a challenge in terms of time and energy. So that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment below and let me know if you got something personally out of this. And also let me know if you want to hear more of these personal videos from what my life looks like. I have no idea if this is interesting to you, but I would love to hear your feedback.